organization.
Michelle Dials will be asking our next question, and it will be directed to Mr. Kitchell.
The structure of our economic development organization has changed in this community. What is your vision, if elected mayor of Logansport, as the optimal economic development structure to both retain and enhance our current businesses and to attract new businesses to our community?
Well, we have to get back to the idea of one organization that's the touchstone, that's the focus point, that's the launching spot for economic development for the community. Why does Kokomo have one? Why does Lafayette have one? And it's because there has to be a clearinghouse, and the left hand of the city and the right hand of the county have to be on the same page. If they're not, you're going to have conflicting statements and goals and programs and funding. You don't want it to be that way. You want to have people on the same page. And the format that we had with the Logansport Cass County Economic Development Foundation was wonderful, and we accomplished a lot of things. But we've got to get an organization that calls on clients that are already here and make sure that we don't lose jobs like we've lost at Matthew Warren, entire businesses like Cotronics, and the expansion of Logan Stampings, Next Day Container, Staples, Sears. You know, part of the job of the Economic Development Organization is to maintain the job force you have. And this is where there's a huge contrast between the two of us, because I believe, as is the case, that real economic growth happens most often with the businesses you already have. You grow the economy from within. You can't swing for the fences and hope that you land a huge plant if it's not realistic. You have to work with the people you've got. And after all, those are the people that are paying your taxes, they're consuming your utilities. I think we have to get back to the idea of job one, which is taking care of the people that we have. That's where I think the city-county situation has to get back there. And when you're not on the same page, and we have three levels of economic development here. If you're a potential employer, which one do you go to first? You go to the city? Do you go to the county? What do we do with Christy Householder at the county? What do we do with Bill Cuppy working for the Economic Development Foundation? Who's the point person here? And that's what people are going to want to know when they come to Logansport.
Mr. Franklin, same question.
During my 2015 State of the City address, I did ask Cass County to meet us at the table to do anything we could to make Logansport and Cass County prosper, to work together in a partnership. We, the City of Logansport, along with the City of Logansport Economic Development Organization, offered to allow Cass County to come back into the organization. Cass County has elected not to do that. It's not because we didn't try. I've said it before, you cannot force somebody to be married that doesn't want to be married. And that's where we're at in this. Cass County, it's an open invitation. I've said it before, I'll say it again tonight. This is an open invitation to Cass County to join the City of Logansport and the City of Logansport Economic Development Organization to unify our forces to put them back together. Until Cass County decides to come back, we're at a loss. Literally, all of us are at a loss. The City of Logansport, Cass County, everybody's at a loss. But on the topic of partnership with Cass County, we have tried in so many ways. Many of you will remember that we have attempted to work with Cass County to reunite our fire departments. Nothing so far. I've offered, and we have offered, the City of Logansport and Logansport Municipal Utilities has offered to work with Cass County to extend water and sewer lines to the Climbers area. Rejected. Not even a conversation. So the offer is there. The offer stands today, and I would encourage you, and I would encourage the panel tonight, to ask these same questions of Cass County. It's not us. We are trying. We are doing everything we can. I stand by that again. I challenge all of you to ask Cass County to explain why they won't come back to the table. It baffles me. I can't understand it, but we're willing to help. We're willing to work together. I'll say that again. We have always maintained that. And I want to say this also. I pledge to remain engaged with anybody who will work with us to improve the lives of their citizens.
Thank you. Misty Nisley will be asking the next question, and it will be directed to Mr. Franklin.
Some in the community have expressed concern over the amount of money the city spends on consultants. The city has paid consultants for a number of special projects as well as regular government workings, including guidance with international relations, the Redevelopment Commission's TIF efforts, budget preparations, and annexation projects. The city spent approximately $1.6 million on the power plant project alone. Moving forward, how would you handle consultants?
I would say, first of all, the city spent about $1.25 million developing the power plant project. We wasted $100,000 defending a frivolous lawsuit that ended up before the Indiana Supreme Court. The other portion of that money that was spent was invested in attorneys that we have to have in order to put together an agreement. $1.6 million is pretty accurate, but keep in mind, we're scheduled to get back $1.75 million. We're actually going to return an investment. We're going to make some money on that. So another point that I would like to point out, the city of Logansport also hired a government specialist in finance, a government finance specialist. We paid them $116,000 since 2013, and what they have done for us is identified $12 million that we were leaving on the table before. And that $12 million doesn't result in a tax increase to you. That is $12 million of money that was being collected by other government agencies, not the city of Logansport. So when you look at your tax bill, nothing went up. It's still at the 1% cap, but we've eliminated your trash tax. Remember that? That was a trash tax. It's costing every one of you $165 a year. We've also used that money very wisely. We have repaired the Logansport Municipal Pool. That was a problem that goes back for 25 years, and we couldn't have done it if we didn't have the cash on hand. We have repaired the pool. We've paid for it with cash on hand because we invested in those people who know how to get around the obstacles. We have right now a 314-day supply of cash on hand. That is unheard of in state government. We're in one of the best positions in the state of Indiana for cities of our size. So yes, we have spent some money, but the return is 99 times. We spent $116,000 and we found $12 million. In years 2012 and 2013, we left $11 million on the table that we did not pick up, but somebody else picked it up. You still paid the tax. So let's capture that money. Let's spend it wisely. Let's invest in Logansport.
Time's up.
Thank you.
Well, the question was really about consultants, and we kind of got off track with that response. But to answer your question, I think we have to hire consultants who know something about what they're doing. And the consultants we hired, William Lynn James, had no background at all in operating a power plant, in siting a power plant, in funding a power plant, in making it profitable. They had none. They had zero. And the company that they hired, that they selected in open bidding, had never done that either. Pyrolyzer was a shell. It was an apartment, an office in Florida. It had no utilities that they were managing, and we knew that. We also knew the problems with emissions that Pyrolyzer would create. We knew that it would bring 6,000 tons of garbage to Logansport every single day. If the man negotiating the contract, the mayor, got his way. Well, that's not the way to work. You've got to deal with people that know what they're doing and can return on finances. We lost $1.7 million, and we didn't lose $1.7 million because we told you this wouldn't work. We lost it because you tried to put a round peg in a square hole. And that's what happened. It didn't work, it didn't fly, and your subsequent proposal didn't fly either. Now we're on to a third proposal, again, with a company that has no experience in managing or building or siting or running a power plant. So consultants, they're great. They can bring a lot of value to things. What we should say about property taxes is we have to lower them, because according to the local economic development organization, Logansport now has the 6th highest property tax rate in the state of Indiana. So yeah, we've got cash on hand, but we ought to be putting it back into the community and lowering the property taxes. If you're raising the property tax rate 21% in 3 years, that's not sustainable. The trash tax, not sustainable. We're borrowing out of the host community agreement fund. We can't generate host community money fast enough to pay down the trash tax. So it's a shell game. It's not working. It's not honest government.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Copy will be asking the next question, and it will be directed to Mr. Kitchell.
Electric rates have frequently been mentioned in the ongoing power plant discussion. How does the electric rate specifically matter to Logansport's economic development and to the average residential consumer?
Well, it matters to the consumer because if you know what's behind the scenes that's going on, the ALICE survey, which most people would know of, but if you're in the Cass County Resource Network, if you're one of the agencies involved in that, you're looking at that survey and you know that 45% of the people, nearly 1 in 2 that live in Eel Township, don't have household income that meets the cost of living. Now that means they can't afford utility bills. they're probably going to be on public assistance. So we've got to lower that. If you look on the Department of Energy website and Google that, you'll find we're in the highest third of utility rates in the state of Indiana. You know, this is not something that is a good thing for economic development, because most businesses now are bottom line. They want to have the lowest cost possible electric rates they can have. And we can do that, but we can't do it with the model that the mayor has. And by the way, the mayor's model has some major flaws in it. One of them is that the rate of 7.3 cents that he projects is higher than what solar fields in even neighboring Peru are going to generate, 3 to 4 cents a kilowatt hour. We're handicapping our local industries. We're handicapping local families. Incomes here have only grown less than 1% since 2008. And we're in the 7th year of the longest economic recovery in United States history. If we're not going to be able to make it now, what are we going to do when a recession hits? You know, we're losing jobs, we're hemorrhaging companies. We can't do this. We have to move forward. You know, I was misquoted today in an ad that my opponent ran. It said, I said this was the laughingstock of Northern Indiana. Actually, the person who said that was Jeremy Ashcraft, who's here tonight. He's a councilman from the mayor's party. And he said that because we have so many conflicting goals with economic development that nobody knows what our goals are. And there's a reason why the county doesn't want to work with the mayor. It's a matter of trust.
Mr. Franklin, same question.
Okay, when we're referring to electric utility rates, I find it baffling. We have an opportunity to reduce the cost of electricity by 15%, and the man to my left sued me to stop that from happening. That proposal also protects 31 jobs that currently exist and will create another 70 jobs. And the man next to me, who professes to want to bring economic development opportunity to Logansport, sued me to stop it. Made us waste over $100,000. We cannot move forward with that kind of mentality. I laugh when I hear about 3 to 4 cent cost of electricity for solar power. Yes, I agree. It's 3 to 4 cents, but it only works 15% of the time. So in a 24-hour day, you do the math, you're going to have about 3 hours of electricity. The other 21 hours, you're going to be in the dark. You can't. Solar power is not sustainable in Indiana. It works well in Arizona, New Mexico, and even sometimes in Florida, but it does not work in Indiana. It's not reliable. So when you buy the capacity that you would need to make sure that your lights came on all during the night, and when the dialysis machine comes on when you need it, you're talking about 19 cents. 19 cents. We're talking about 7.3. That is a sustainable rate that lasts for 4 years, can only go up at the rate of the consumer price index for 4 years. It is capped at 8.35 cents and is there for the next 20 years. That's a pretty sweet deal. The cost of electricity is projected to go up by 32% in the next 8 years. That doesn't factor in anything else. That study came from Dave Kitchell's alma mater, Purdue. I would challenge all of you to do your own homework. This is sustainable. It's the best project we've got going. It's redundant in that it burns fuel pellets, coal, and natural gas, creates 100 jobs, and is in a $300 million investment in Logansport. It's the best opportunity we have.
Michelle Dials will be asking the next question, and it will be directed to Mr. Franklin.
Recently, the City Council discussed a contractual arrangement for legal services as opposed to retaining a city attorney. What would your position be regarding this concept?
I'm not opposed to it. I think it merits some more study. But we were really caught kind of flat-footed this year, where there wasn't a lot of time to vet through it. I'm not exactly sure what the cost of an attorney would be if we contracted with them per hour. There are varying rates. Some of them are $150 an hour. Some of them are $500 an hour. So I'm not exactly sure how we would be asked to implement such a policy. The number did not change in that the amount to be appropriated was still in the $70,000 range, but I'm not sure how we were supposed to get over that. We're certainly looking at it. We had the conversation earlier this week about exploring that opportunity again. But I want to do what's best for the city, what provides the service that's needed for the most reasonable cost. So, not adverse to it, but certainly needs more study.
Mr. Kitchell.
I think we have to avoid situations where we're putting the community at legal risk. And when we're trying to interfere with the deal to sell the Logansport Mall for $5 million and to bring investment and retail and employment to Logansport and to put property in the tax rolls and to invest in the community, and we're violating tort laws all over the place, we're inviting legal intervention. We're inviting a suit to do that. We've got to stay away from these legal, pits of morass. That's our problem. We've got too many lawyers on the payroll. Our lawyers have lawyers that have lawyers. Why do we need to do this? Local counsel, yes, that's good, but we've got way, way too many lawyers to do this. Indianapolis law firms. There's a reason why Indianapolis law firms are coming to me to get my business, because they think that I'm going to be the next mayor, and they want to talk to me about being the representation in Indianapolis. They also don't think we've had a very good performance by our existing legal counsel, and I understand that. But I think we have to look at what's happening out there in the legal community and save costs. Fewer consultants, fewer legal problems. That's going to cut the cost. That's going to cut the tax rate. We've got to reduce our liabilities. We've done a lot in this community to improve our community, but we're wasting it on people that don't live here, that don't work here, that don't contribute to the economy here, don't go to church here, don't tithe here, don't support the schools here. Let's keep our tax dollars home. Let's spend our money with our local lawyers. Why is it, again, that we have to pay the Speaker of the Indiana House $49,000 to represent us? Are we buying political influence, or do we really need legal advice? I think the question there is clear. I think the answer is even clearer. And we've got to stop throwing money around like we've got millions to burn.
Misty Knisely will be asking the next question, and it will be directed to Mr. Kitchell.
Name 3 things that you would do as mayor to bridge the gap between the city of Logansport and Cass County.
Well, I think the first thing we have to look at, Misty, is economic development, obviously, and bringing them back on board. But the second thing we're going to have to take a look at is Memorial Hospital. We've just recently had the retirement of David Amin, and the hospital may be sold, or we may go through a management contract. And we have to be ready to dovetail into that level of economic development, to make professional office space available, to give incentives to that. Those are high-dollar jobs, and hopefully we can leverage that to do some good things. The third thing I would say, and I've met with some county officials, is to work on a Wi-Fi agreement, including the 12-mile Lucerne Rail Center communities, to extend Wi-Fi to rural areas. There's an area of Fulton County right now around Warsaw that is totally Wi-Fi accessible, and it's a rural area of northeastern Fulton County. That's the going trend in technology, and unfortunately we're not there yet. My opponent here has blocked efforts to do that when former Economic Development Director Skip Cooker tried to push that forward. I think we have to take a better look at that now. We've learned a lot. We're further along in the process of Wi-Fi, and I think we know what to do there. But we also can take a look at health insurance, maybe streamlining the costs of what we can do with health insurance. The county has done some things to cut their costs, and we have to manage Logansport like a $40 million business with an MBA, which is what Stacey Cox is. If we do that, we can give the city and county more value for their dollar, and we have to streamline services. My opponent voted against E911 and streamlining those services when he was on the council. That's not something I would vote against. I've called for it for years, and I think that we need to look at the ways we can cut costs for both the city level and the county level. We're paying taxes out of both pockets, and it's only fair to say that we're going to reduce the costs, and we haven't done that in economic development.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Franklin?
First of all, Dave has a faulty memory. I voted in favor of 911. I remember the vote quite well. I'll be happy to prove that to him tomorrow. Going back one question, judging by Dave's record in suing the city, he should hire an attorney from Indianapolis. He hasn't had a lot of luck here. What could we do to partner with the county? We've offered. That offer, again, is out. That offer to extend the friendship, the hand of friendship, is there. We do it repeatedly. Just last week, I received an email from Cass County County Commissioners President Jim Sailors, thanking me for waiving the fee for the construction project that's taken place down at the city, or at the county building right now. It's about $12,500. there's this perception that we can't do anything together. Not true. Many, many times, our street department has went out into the county and helped them plow roads, trim trees, widen roads, do those kind of things. We do it on a regular basis. Cass County and the city of Logansport work together to bring the ambulance service that's here now. You may all remember the horrible service that we had prior to the arrival of Prompt Ambulance. We did that collectively in my office on a Friday afternoon, Jim Sailors and I. It's worked out well, and I haven't had one complaint on Prompt Ambulance since they've got here. So there are a lot of things that we can do. One other thing that we've done, again, Cass County transferred ownership of the memorial home to Logansport, to the city of Logansport, so that we could rehab that building before it deteriorates any farther. What happened? The same attorney that sued me personally, and the city of Logansport on the power plant project is now suing the city and the county to stop that transfer from taking place. So it's hard to get anything done when we're fighting on three fronts. I will stand by my record. I'll offer my hand of friendship and ask Cass County to come back to the table.
Mr. Copy will be asking the next question, and it will be directed to Mr. Franklin.
There has been ongoing effort to consolidate the city's TIF districts, excluding the downtown redevelopment TIF district. The effort looks to put collections from all economic development TIF districts into one pot of money that can be used outside of that district in which it was collected. How should the city handle TIF districts and their possible consolidation?
TIF districts are very important. For those of you that don't know, it stands for Tax Increment Finance District. We first expanded the TIF districts to collect, or to extend the area and to connect the areas that we had. We had 4 different TIF districts. Today we have 3. There was one at the industrial park. There was one out by Kent Feeds, I'm sorry, not quite that far, out near 18th Street. There was one at Lexington Village, which is the Logansport Mall, and there's one downtown. We TIF'd an area that you would describe as Market Street and Broadway Street. That allows the connectivity, and then also out Burlington Avenue. We did that because it allows money to free flow back and forth if needed. If we have a project that wants to develop at the Logansport Mall or in the Lexington Village, let's take Mary Mac Cinemas for example. If we had another Mary Mac Cinema or a very big project near the Logansport Mall, we would not have enough cash to do that. Some people may think it's better to go borrow money. I think it's better to utilize the money that we have invested and already sitting in a bank account. Don't force us to borrow. This was a mechanism that allows us to connect those TIF districts, that prevents us from borrowing money and ultimately costing the city more money. Our TIF district is very well off. We're in the process of building a spec building at the industrial park. It's going to cost $1 million, and we're going to be able to pay cash for it because it's wise. What we have done is wise money management. So we've created Lexington Village. We're in hopes of bringing somebody to town that will redevelop the mall. I, for one, want to go on the record to say that I would never pay $2.5 million for a project, for a development, for a mall that is valued at less than $500,000. Dave may do that. That's a stark difference between us. I would never pay $2.5 million for something that's worth $500,000. That's foolish, that's irresponsible, and I want to go on the record saying I'm against it.
Mr. Kitchell.
I think we got that question. Can we have that question again? That'd be great.
Yeah. There has been ongoing effort to consolidate the city's TIF districts, excluding the downtown redevelopment TIF district. The effort looks to put collections from all economic development TIF districts into one pot of money that could be used outside of the district in which it was collected. How should the city handle TIF districts and their possible consolidation?
Well, I think we have to be honest about why the TIF districts are being consolidated. And if you look at page 1 of the lawsuit, that is the crux of why these TIF districts are being consolidated, the reason is, number 1, to leverage money from the industrial park for Lexington Village. So we're going to take money away from the industrial park that's been paid by the industries out there for their future use to put in $250,000 condominiums at the Logansport Mall and tear that down. You know, that's not right, because these people signed on board with the promise that what is generated here and what is paid here by you stays here for your future development. When you need money to expand, it's there. We can put in the water lines, we can put in electric equipment, we can put in 3-phase, we can put in whatever we need to do. We need to buy land, we can do that. We'll have the money available. But commingling the funds makes it a very nebulous situation, because now, well, the mall got their share, or the industrial park got their share. What's wrong with this picture is that we have tied up money in a system that is very confusing and that is not fair. We need to keep the TIF districts separate and distinct so that what's generated in those TIF districts is used specifically there, whether it's downtown, at the industrial park, at the mall, or anywhere else. I don't think I said at any point that I was going to buy a mall for $500 million or $5 million. But I will say that the mayor interfered with the sale of the mall, and that's on record. It's clear that the National Bank of Algonquin, Illinois, has said that. Now, do I believe that we should pay $5 million for it? No. But I believe that we have to find other money to use that. The TIF money, yes. Do we have to bond for it? Maybe. But I don't think that we necessarily have to do it. I think there's private investment available that will do it. And he assumes that there is no private investment available to rebuild the mall or to restore it or to renovate it. I think there is. I think there are people standing in line right now to buy the mall and to buy that property.
We have now concluded the part of the program that deals with questions and answers, and we are ready for closing remarks. Mr. Kitchell, would you begin?
Well, I think tonight you've seen a snapshot of some of the differences that are the contrast between the current mayor and myself. But there's a lot more out there that you need to know, and I invite you to go to kitchell2015.com. I'd be remiss tonight if I didn't take a moment just to mention the Stajahar and Wilkinson families and let them know that I send them my condolences for the loss of their son, and I'm sorry that Mike couldn't be here tonight to share in this event. That said, I was honored recently when Senator Joe Donnelly came to Logansport and said, Dave Kitchell's known around the state as a straight talker. He'll tell you the truth. He'll be honest with you. He'll be the kind of guy you can hang your hat on. And that's the kind of person I am. That's the kind of person that we need in City Hall. That's the kind of person we need in city government that brings an approach. I've heard from a mayor that has campaigned very negatively in the last 2 weeks, in the last month. But the fact of the matter is, it's not about writing checks. That's what the Clerk-Treasurer does. Let's manage Logansport like a business and put an MBA in charge. Let's put people on the city council who will put Logansport first and not the interests of the man in the mayor's office. Let's be a community that gets along, and the county won't deal with the city as long as the incumbent is in charge. We've got to be one again. We have to bring ourselves back to the reality of what this is. I'm not going to run negative campaign ads because I think we've been through enough in the last 4 years, and I think you know that. I don't want to turn Little Red Riding Hood into the Wicked Witch of the West in a commercial. We got the money to do it. I'm not going to do it. I stand on my record as a citizen of Logansport, as a taxpayer, as a father, as a husband, as a friend, as a neighbor. And on November 3rd or before, I hope you'll cast your vote for me, for Logansport. You're prouder to call home. Thank you.
Mr. Franklin, your closing remarks?
First of all, I would like to ask all of you to keep the family and State Representative Bill Friend in your prayers. Some of you may know that Bill lost a very close family member yesterday, and I'm sure he could use all the prayers that we could provide. I'm honored to be here this evening as your mayor, and I find it very, very interesting at this point in time, after 3.5 years of negative paid reporter for the Ferris Tribune, attacking me personally, attacking my record, accusing me of stealing gas by driving a city police car on city business, an unmarked police car. And now to allege that there is a negative campaign going on is just absurd. I've dealt with it for 3.5 years, and I think most of you would acknowledge that. It's time to reflect the record. The people of Logansport need to know about both the candidates that are sitting here and our backgrounds. I have nothing to hide, and I challenge all of you to go investigate my record. I look at Dave next to me, and it comes to mind when Ronald Reagan said to Walter Mondale, "There you go again," because that's what we're having here tonight. There you go again. It's just absolutely not true. What Dave has said tonight is insulting not only to me, but to the people who associate with me. I ran for mayor 4 years ago, and we faced some huge challenges, and we've addressed those. The biggest one, the power plants behind us. We have SG Preston that's coming to town. We have waste to fuel that's coming to town, both $400 million investments, and I'm happy to hang my hat with them. I'm proud to be their partners. Teresa and I have worked hard. Our entire city council has worked hard. We have all invested in this community. And I say invested, I'm talking about time as well as money. We invest in this community. And with that, I say that we don't have a finer group of staff than we have right now that works for the city. Teresa and I are here. We're going to be here. We're staying here. I ask you for your vote.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we certainly hope that what you have seen... Yes, go right ahead. Yes, they deserve it. They've had some difficult questions tonight. And we hope that what you people in the audience have seen and heard tonight will help you to make intelligent, informed choices when you cast your ballots. Reminder, Election Day is November the 3rd. Absentee voting starts Monday at the courthouse, and there will be voting October 29th, 30th, and 31st, both at the courthouse, the Logansport Mall, and the Senior Citizen. Thank you for all of you coming, and please drive carefully going home.